Okay, hello. Good morning. I guess, yeah, it's been weekend. It's been good. I'm having a presentation tomorrow, kind of over this being a shitty version of myself, which is nice. But yeah, and it's kind of weird being nervous about it because it's like a pre-recording thing. So I'm actually not going to stand in front of any people. It's really weird. Anyways, about the type issues we got into on Friday, those are fixed. Our type fetcher, we have a service called the type fetcher service. And it basically what it does is go and install an npm package. It goes through the typing files, creates like a file or whatever out of it, and then ships that to AWS. And for some reason, this service was like, oh my god, I can't really talk today. I'm not sure why. I can't find any words. But anyways, it uploads it to AWS, and there's like an intermediate step there where it's installing the npm package, and it needs to clean that stuff up. But for some reason, some of them are not being cleaned up. And so what I did, I went in there and I made sure that if the process were to restart, it would actually clean the temporary folder where it installs stuff, in case like something restarts or whatever. Also made sure that whenever we install a new package and clean up that package, it will actually have a dictionary of all installed packages, or like we keep like a date of all installed packages, so that if anything's more than 10 minutes old, it will clean that up as well, to kind of have these backup solutions. But it might be something else that causes it. It might not be the actual npm install that fills it up. It might be, for example, Yarn has we're using Yarn. Yarn has like a cache, so it might be that. Oh, by the way, I forgot to change my resolution this time. I'm getting my new cable today, so then it automatically switches the resolution. And I guess I'm getting into the same issue as we did last time now. Because now OBS will, yes, you see that? It has the wrong thingy. So if I'm able to, am I able to do something about this? I guess not. Can I restart this? Oh, god damn it. Oh, I get into these issues all the time. What if I just do this? No, that didn't help. Can I like refresh it or something? No, I guess it's because it's the yeah, you know what, I think I can stop the streaming and then just start again. So just 2 seconds. I'll be right back. Okay, I think I'm back now. I just have to verify that everything's okay. Yeah, let me just talk in the meantime. So anyways, yeah, cool. So Yarn should might be doing some own caching stuff that's filling up the hard drive there. But now we're making sure that it installs the cache with the package. So yeah, we should be good and this shouldn't happen again. Anyways, I just want to say that it should have been fixed. And in our Overmind, let's see. Let's go through our actions now, because now we have this changed API of the state machine that we were supposed to refactor last time. But we didn't do that because of the typing issues. So basically what has changed there, and we need to talk about this thing because we don't have an exit anymore on the state machines. But let's just refactor this first. So state of transition authenticated. Let's do this, and let's do this. And then let's see if straight transition home. This is nice because now we see that it's typed to the correct stuff. That's cool. Yes, and then we can, yes, we have this thing where we have this stream backlog, and we want to stop streaming whenever it transitions, well, whenever it transitions out of authenticated, which is kind of interesting. But let's see what we can do here. So let's fix this one as well, and then we can talk about this other thing. So if state of transition authenticating, then we will actually sign in. Okay, I guess this isn't async anymore. So we'll do it like that. And this isn't, yeah, this is async, of course. Oh. So we don't have to like if that, because we're just changing it, which is perfectly okay. And then we're not using our dispose backlog, and we don't really have. So the thing about overmind actions, they have one, like having this imperative style of programming is really nice and really straightforward, and arguably it's the way we think about stuff, or most easily like able to communicate. We think in steps, or at least that's how we're taught to think. And we can argue about that all for a long time. I'm not sure what's right, if we're kind of taught to think in steps, or like we more naturally think in a different way, but because of school and you kind of have this the whole working like the industrialization, where you kind of have this repeated work in steps kind of thing, and it's kind of leaking into our school system and preventing creativity and all this stuff, because creativity is not a step-by-step process, that's for sure. Anyways, that's a whole different discussion. But yeah, arguably this is natural for us to think about this in steps. But the problem is events, because when you run an action, you kind of do it in steps, and when it gets to the end, it's done. It's done running. But if we were to fire up an event there, so for example, or not like an event, but like a stream or something, or like register an event or a stream, and we want to dispose of that at some point in time. We don't really have any way to express that, because the action starts up here and it ends down here. But the disposing of this stream backlog, that could happen like at any point in time, really. So the question is also things like, how do you mentally think about this? Because you have the dev tools, and the dev tools also shows you, like you have a list of actions, and then maybe like you have 100 actions, and then the second action register an event listener, and suddenly that action disposes it, because that's where you had the logic for disposing it. But like you're on action 100, so how would you, like in the dev tools, tell the user that, hey, something new happened in this action you ran a long time ago? So it's really, really tricky. And one way to handle this in Overmind, the way, for example, we do it in Codesandbox, is that we make it part of the effects API. So what we do is, for example, here, instead of returning the disposer, we would just create a new effect called effects API dispose stream backlog, for example, and then it would dispose of it. And in this case, that works just fine, because we only like set up the streaming once and then we dispose it once. So that works just fine. But then you might have like a dynamic registration of events, but then things start getting like really tricky again. You don't have any, then it doesn't get like, then it isn't explicit anymore. So it kind of gets more complicated, just having a dynamic nature. But then you will kind of have to do in Overmind with imperative API, you will kind of like have to give them IDs or something, which you will put into the state tree. And then whenever you wanted to dispose of all the event thingies or event listeners, you will kind of go through the IDs in the state tree and you would dispose of them. So that's also a way to do it, because you have to keep a reference to the event listener somewhere. So either you do it in the code itself, or you need like an ID that you keep in your state. And it's really, really interesting. So for example, in React with its hooks and stuff, you don't get into this issue because it has this functional, well, it's really, really weird with hooks. Actually, it has its own problems in terms of like understanding what actually happens when it runs, and this the closures, and it's like watching a function that lives like in unlimited number of parallel worlds, because each function you can't instantly see like the scope of this function. Where does it live? Does it live every time the component renders, or does it only live the first time, or does it live between one of the places where the prop changed, or like it's there's like multiple layers of the component. It's super tricky in my opinion. But yeah, I'm rambling a lot about this, so maybe we should just implement this. But the thing is, that we had this exit hook, and it just said whenever authenticated exits, then I want to do something. While now we don't really have a way to do that. We only have a way to say that if we move into unauthenticated, do this specific thing, which means that we have created like a limitation on the ability to trigger logic based on moving out of a transition. It doesn't matter what we transition into, but do this thing. We have lost that ability. But I think it's better to handle that by using, for example, an event API. So you would kind of say on exit, and then you point to the state where you want something to happen related to it exiting. And then you do that. I can show an example of that. Let's implement this first. I'm noticing my brain isn't really working yet today. So sorry if I'm rambling and can't find the words, but that's just how it is sometimes. So we have our stream backlog. Yes. Stream backlog, where are you? There we are. Oh, does it just on snapshot? Oh, maybe this does return. What does this return? I guess it returns a disposer. Yeah, I think it does. Cool. So what we have to do here instead is that we need an internal reference to that disposer. Dispose stream backlog. Yes. So what we'll do instead is we'll say this dispose stream backlog, and then dispose stream backlog. So for example, with the GraphQL package of Overmind, all subscriptions you set up, you just call them. So you say like effects, GQL, no, sorry, yeah, effects GQL, or do you do it like this? No, I can't remember. Yeah, it is an effect, right? Yeah, because you create your own custom effect. God damn it, I can't even remember this API now. It's so long since I worked on it. Where is it? GraphQL. Yeah, maybe we can just read the documentation. Yes. Does it show how you dispose? Yeah, disposing. Yes. So you create this effect with your subscriptions. And then you just call, for example, on post. This was a bad example. Yes, so here we create a subscription on post added, and you typically reference an action. So you see you don't have any dispose or anything, you just register it. And then you go in, and when you want to dispose of that, you can say effects.gql subscriptions on post added. It actually has a dispose method on it. So you call that, and then you dispose of all the subscriptions on post added. But then you can rather say dispose where. And then you can look at if you pass some data into that subscription. So for example, up here, where was it? On post added, pass some data. I have some really bad examples here, I see. Yeah, I should fix this. Because you can pass data into a subscription, but it doesn't, I don't have an example of that. That's kind of annoying. I should fix that. Anyways, you can pass data into a subscription. So you kind of dynamically subscribe to something, and then you can dispose subscriptions based on that. So for example, you would subscribe to a specific post, and you would express that when you start a subscription, and then you could remove that specific subscription. That's the point. So it's kind of dealt with separately, subscribing and disposing, using a reference like in this case like some ID you pass in, or as I mentioned, if you returned an ID from the subscription, you could hold it in your state store and keep a reference to the subscription that way. And you can argue that this isn't ideal at all, but it's kind of, I don't think that this is the way it kind of has to work in imperative programming. And typically in classes and stuff, you see how this is done. You keep a reference to the disposer in the class instance. But since in Overmind, an action isn't like an instance, you can't keep a reference there. It's just some arbitrary function you call. So you can't do that. So maybe that's the thing, like in Overmind, you have this imperative style of programming inside a functional style, which makes this event stuff kind of fall in between. But anyways, this is the way to deal with it. And if you have some other idea on how to deal with it, please let me know in the comments. Let's see. So if we have that dispose stream backlog, why is it complaining? Oh, implicitly has an any type. I think it's just void. Yeah, by the way, someone commented here that we could say like, oh, I'm not going to go into that again. But someone told me how we could type this thing. But anyways, I'm not going to go into that now. Cool. So now we have the possibility to stream the backlog, and then we kind of have to secure this. So if we Yeah, I guess we can just say this dot dispose. So if we happen to have code that tries to stream 2 times, it disposes the existing stream. So this is just how we choose to do it. We can only have one backlog streaming at any time. Cool. So anyways, what we lost now was the ability to dispose of that stream backlog when we transition out of authenticated. But the only way we can move out of authenticated is going to unauthenticated. So in this case, we can ensure that when we transition into unauthenticated, we can dispose of the thing, dispose of the stream backlog, though we kind of have to now do it explicitly. So for example, here we have to go out of it and then, oops, effects, API, dispose, stream backlog. And we have to do the same here. So we're getting some duplicated logic, which is why I've been talking about introducing something that fits better with what I've been talking about right now, which is the ability to do something like state auth on exit, and then you do authenticated, and then you can trigger action on not authenticated, something like that, and then you run your logic there. And this is something you will kind of set up in onInitialize, for example, or it could return like an ID that you could hold on to, or maybe we should have done like the thing that we do with GQL or GraphQL, like you can dispose all the on exit if you need to do that. I have to think about that. But we're going to keep it like this for now because we're just exploring this API and we're trying to find something that's this balance of being straightforward to use and then fits with the way Overmind works. Because the exit callback that we had just doesn't fit in, because I explained that actions, they actually stop running. They're not like instances that keeps on running with like lifecycle hooks and stuff. Which is kind of an interesting thing. Never thought about it like that, but yeah, that's the way it is. Okay, so this is not ideal that we have to duplicate this logic, because maybe we had some other piece of unauthenticated transition, and then we would have to ensure it there as well. Yes. Cool. I guess that's it. And then let's move on, see if we can finish refactoring this. So this is certainly not async anymore. If we don't have to return anything, we just want to transition. And do we have any more? Oh, here we have a lot of that logic. Let's see. Yeah, so this is probably still async. We're checking blah, blah, blah. And now we rather want to, if backlog item ending like that, and we don't have this thing. We don't return, we just transition. And then if blah, 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 let's see how this looks now. Oh, this is interesting. So on error, we don't have a description, and I guess that's weird. We should have that. Does not exist on type never. Why does it say that? Base date. That is certainly weird. Why does it say we don't have as conflicting types in some constituents? What the hell does that mean? Oh, is it because we adding and oh is it okay, this was something I didn't know about. So when we do this if here, we're saying that backlog item state is typed to adding. But then we move down here and now we're saying that backlog item state is error. And it seems that TypeScript, you see it here, the intersection state adding and state error was reduced to never because property state has conflicting types. But fuck. So I guess we're just as far, oh my god. Oh, god damn it, TypeScript. I thought you were going to replace the type. You were not going to create an intersection. Why are you creating an intersection of those types? That really sucks. So yeah, god damn it. Doing typing is so insanely difficult. Backlog item state. Why aren't I getting? Why am I not getting anything here? Never? Oh, because it's already never. Thank you for that. Yeah, I have no idea how to fix this. This totally breaks the API again. God damn it. This is so insanely tricky to do. Like we would have to do, yeah, we can't even do that. What I mean is that we're back to the same thing, is that we created this backlog item state. And I guess if we were to state dot backlog item transition, then it would be okay again. Because we haven't like, that's just stupid. Why? But why is that different? What if I do? Okay, so if I do state.backlog item transition, that works. This is weird. Why? Oh, is it because the variable? This is interesting. Why does that matter? So when I do this, it doesn't create an intersection type. But if I do this, we're kind of saying that there's a but this is what I hate. Like for a developer, this is really, really shitty. This is a bad developer experience, that you have to understand that, okay, if you're going to use transition, make sure you point to the state and don't create variables, because that will create an intersection thing with nested ifs that you don't want. Like, that's just stupid. Yeah. This really sucks. Anyone have any comments on this? No. God damn it. I guess we can try to finish refactoring this first. Yeah. Yeah, this is just stupid. Let's change it. Oh yeah, and here it's okay, so it does get into on type never. Okay, so it does happen there as well. There was something else that oh, is it because we have this or thing? That might be it. So it's not really, let's see, we have backlog item, but if we remove this thing, no, that didn't do anything. No, it's because it's what did it crash with? It crashed with adding. But even if I do this backlog item state, yeah, even there it breaks, because now I'm checking that it's, yeah, of course, already here I'm saying that it's valid or error, and then when I try to change it to adding, TypeScript starts yelling at me. So I can't do this for some freakish reason. Ooh, TypeScript. It probably makes sense for TypeScript, but for me it makes absolutely no sense. Yeah, I guess we'll just have to stop here. I have to think about this and redo the API once more. Like this is how it is, like iterations, 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 and the only way to find a good way to do it is to actually use the API. You can't like do it in theory, at least not when it's as complicated as this. Like I want the usage to be simple, but it's like complicated under the hood. Cool. But okay, if you have any ideas on how this, why this happens and how to get around it, ideally from like an API perspective, not by the developer like writing their code a special way, that would be super interesting to see. But yeah, okay, I guess this was a kind of a shitty session, but hopefully I'll figure this out tomorrow so that we can kind of continue on our app again. But yeah, I have to figure this one out. Cool. Thanks for now. See you tomorrow and have a nice day.